Have you ever given any thought to those who lend an ear to virtuous thoughts, and those who carry it out? Those who cry for non-violence, and the victims of conflict. Do you truly believe that these two are in balance? It is difficult for us to focus on a single thing, for we are still infantile. Power, knowledge, culture. No matter how refined we act, our goals continue to move. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Talk to Me About! That was an excerpt from the character we're talking about today, Ariels, or also known as the Sanctus Maximus Populi Ariels, also known as the Universal Will. Today I have got three very cool Ariels and lore enjoyers to meet with me today. And I will introduce them starting now. But first of all, I'm your host D, and I'm brought here today by my co-host Jay. Say hello.
Hello.
And first up, we have our guest, Abby. How are you, Abby?
Tired but good.
We'll perk you up, don't worry.
Don't worry, I got an energy drink ready.
Next up, we have Beatrice. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi. And last but not least, we have Roxy, or SinFrog. Say hello.
Hello.
Today, we are talking about a very important, very awesome, very beautiful woman, Ariels.
Important stuff.
Did I emphasize beautiful? I guess I should start off with a pretty general question. What is it that you guys like about Ariels? Ariels is obviously not a playable character. She was only in the story. But what was it that brought her to your attention? Anyone can start if they want.
Yeah, okay. I think the thing that draws me to Ariels the most is the uncanny valley presented by, like, lack of human mind that has then, like, become human. Her unique perspective, and the sort of visceral discomfort that comes from the way that Ariels talks to other people like they aren't real.
It's very much the thought experiment of, oh, everyone else in this world is an NPC except for me, I'm the only one that can think.
Yeah, a mentality that is like shockingly more popular.
Ariel herself is a machine created to help humanity, so she's literally an NPC, a coded being.
Yeah. How Jacko referred to her as an informational organism. It's just that robot is easier for people to understand.
I think it's really cool that she is a biological robot that operates out of robotic logic, and obviously she goes through a period of metamorphosis where she transforms herself into human to understand like humanity's own sins. But it's just so interesting that she's a complex but also very straightforward being. These things are not as defined by this, so they are evil and must be eradicated, which is really cool.
She's just a hypocritic dumbass. That's pretty much what she is. Like, if you ignore the cool story about the simple truth is that she's a machine that turned into a human, and when she was a human, she was like, no, I'm not a human. I'm still a robot, so I'm going to be a racist and hate other humans.
Every time she speaks, it is like hypocrisy. It's really cool. In that way, she's very similar to Bedman, who is also her underling. For those that only play the story, she is the main villain, and Bedman is someone that works under her command, and she is also the direct one responsible for his death, which is sad.
And also his bed. There's no point about the bed.
Sure.
If you're wondering why
the whole man.
If you're wondering why Bedman is now currently in a state of I have no mouth but I must scream, she's the reason why. Thanks, Ariels.
Okay, the bed has a pretty big mouth when it opens wide.
Fair point. Fair point.
He's got big beautiful teeth. He should go to a dentist.
I have a mouth, but I cannot scream. That's what Bedman is currently. Well, the Bedman is currently. There's
It's because he's so polite, because he's with his sister again. But this is for the Bedman episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
I think it's very.
Jay?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's really appropriate for a character like Ariels to be so didactic and like binary about things like what defines humanity, but this is something that I wanted to talk about later on down the line. I'll just say my initial compulsion towards a character like Ariels is I love insane evil women, and she's also a clown. Like how much better can you get there? And she has a big funny hat. Like, come on.
She has a really big funny hat. I really like that it looks like hair, but it's also a hat, but also like
figure out.
Big mystery, is it real hair or not? Because like in Strive, she has really short hair, but it looks like her hair, so...
I would have thought the entire thing was her hair, but I had to tear apart...
Yeah, did they cut it off?
I had to tear apart her model because I was looking at how to...
Ariels is a prisoner, so it makes sense if they cut her like 300-meter hair. Like...
I was trying to draw her for a zine that I was in, and I really had to look apart at her model, and I think it is that she has a bob haircut, but the rest is all just a very, very large hat.
Yeah, if you look at her model in Xrd, you can see the exact bob she has in Strive is a separate piece from her hat. So I assume that the hair on top is doll hair or something.
But I mean, think about it from a game development standpoint, it's easier to have it like a separate object than it to actually run hair that runs through the hat. It could
While we're
be
on that
just
topic,
easier.
does Leo have long hair in Xrd, or is that all the code?
Long hair.
Long hair?
Yeah, it's long hair. Because he's had long hair in every game.
Super Saiyan 3 hair.
He does.
Yeah.
I like the designs
But
kind of
his coat hair, so but the coat hair and his actual hair are the same color, so yeah, you get messed up.
What is Strive doing to our beautiful queens?
Yeah, I like all the jokes coming out. They cut Leo's hair off with the
actual gorilla.
Oh, what happens?
Sorry, we keep talking over each other. That's my bad.
Sorry. You were saying about Leo's hair?
Oh, I was saying, back when Strive was first coming out, there was a lot of humor about they cut off his hair to put it on his jacket. That's where it came from. I mean, because that's why
they domesticated him. He's domesticated now.
Yeah.
They skinned him.
Ram, actually, Ram, I talked about with Shmuel at one point, in her Strive design, she has short hairs like a domesticated cat, but in Xrd, her ears, even though they look like rabbit ears that Elfeld has, it's more like a wild cat in Xrd. She got domesticated in Strive.
So,
but anyway,
outside of the hair, I really want to bring up the fact that Ariels has such an ostentatious design. Obviously, she's very Catholic and Pope-inspired, but it's also she couldn't help herself, and she covered herself in all this gold. She obviously sees herself as a very coveted and divine being, and as a ruler of people, and everyone treats her as such. They all view her with respect, but she also couldn't help it, and she gave herself this huge hat that looks like bird wings. She sees herself as above. She's got crosses all over. I really like the scabbard she has too. I think she's a really good combination of a soldier, a queen, and a pope. It's very cool.
I feel like her design.
Sorry.
I feel like her design sort of conveys that sort of theme of her being sort of a mishmash of a human and a non-human entity.
Yeah, because it's kind of it's obviously Ariels designed herself as to what she thinks humanity is, but she looks no human would pick these things. No one human would say, I want a hat that looks like this, or I want to have And it's really interesting too when she gets to Strive and she's just completely stripped of all of it, and all she's wearing is this mom white jumpsuit, and it's oh, she has nothing.
It's actually is in Xrd. It's under her, all of her shit.
I know, but I'm saying they stripped her completely. They took away her skirt, her scabbard.
Literally, yes, it's not a different outfit yet.
But I think it's really cool.
I almost wonder, there's a good bit I feel like you could extract from her being opulent, and obviously it harkens to, classical depictions of, higher level religious figures in, every form of fantasy media that's out there. But I think it's also interesting to kind of counter the notion that, is it to reference the fact that she believes herself close to the divine because she's as reasonable an approximation of a human in her mind as one can be, so she is something to be extolled. Or the thing that I was thinking about, and I think this kind of adheres a little bit more to her Joker arc down the line, is it all just kind of a mockery of what humans, redundancies that, she thinks that they think of themselves as, you can adorn yourself with every kind of piece of jewelry or high fashion imaginable, but you're all still just nothing at the end of the day. Look at me, your highest possible person.
You guys are just pretty objects that break. That is what you guys are.
Yeah, exactly.
I personally...
He does refer to them as dolls.
Its original starts as mockery, but as she slowly becomes more and more human, it becomes like an actual, like, an obsession with being human and being a perfect human herself, when she goes full Joker and paints her face, like, it's pretty clearly that she's just lost it in a very human way, not the way that if a machine went wrong. It's like a human who actually just hates, well, other humans, but something so much they lose. It's like...
If I could piggyback
really
on
good
that,
observation.
something that I was thinking about was when Valentine, the original Valentine, was born as the Universal Will's daughter. It was said that she was born in the backyard in a time period that could not be ascertained because of how the backyard works.
Technically, I can point to it took 100 years for her to be born.
Yes.
So yeah, it
It
was
took 100 years
art
to be-
book, like Guilty Gear 2 over to your material collection, the art book with short stories.
Shout out to Soul Rad Guy for translating all of that. Love you.
Yeah, super cool.
Actually, I think part of it was also Volcanic Fighter, so...
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Valentine being born asynchronous to the current period of time makes me also think about how Ariels perceives time. And when you think about the sort of madness that she exhibits, could part of it be attributed to the fact that she has experienced existence in the backyard and experienced time, such a long stretch of time? She even says to Elfal, like, oh, how the years have gone by. And then she became human. And
I'm not sure how much time she perceives. I don't know if she has seen all of human history or if she only saw after the...
She was created after, the original or Happy Chaos completed
her.
his
Yeah, but I know, but I'm
piece,
trying to say, I don't know if she's...
So it's like...
if she's aware of human history or not, because obviously we have characters like Eno and Axel that talk frequently about how Rome fell, and I don't know if this is something that she's aware of or has also seen.
I think she should know it, like, Ariels was created in, like, before, well, she made Justice blow up Japan and stuff, like,
but what
she herself existed before, so I think she should.
But what I wanted to bring up is the fact that she is a character that has witnessed the absolute pitfalls of humanity. She has witnessed humanity, like, completely destroy themselves. She has witnessed the US military complex destroy the world. She has witnessed the extent to which everyone in the world will kill each other. She has witnessed Slayer cause a group of assassins to go about covert government activities and start killing people willy-nilly, and then he has no control over it. She has seen every single character face the challenges of humanity and fail. They always have failed and caused countless death and destruction, and she is tired of it. She is like, this is pathetic. When I was told to make humanity happy, I look at this and I don't think it is possible for any of these people to ever be happy. Even if they conquer a horrible thing, another horrible thing will come to disrupt it. You guys will never ever be happy. And it's just so evident, like, even when she creates the Valentine army to take over the world so that she can begin her recreation of humanity, she is still causing untold destruction. Like, she clearly intends for Izuna and Paradigm to turn against their own kind, because she subjugates the gears and she subjugates the yokai and other such people, but she's still, like, it means nothing to her. Like, she already understands that humanity is nothing but miserable, and there is nothing that that anything can be done about it. And I just think that's really cool.
Going back to that about humanity overcoming challenges, there's a really interesting parallel that I noticed between herself and Happy Chaos, who is also connected to her. Happy Chaos, as he spells out quite succinctly throughout Strive and through Drift, he is motivated by creating problems for other people to overcome because it makes him happy to see them overcome these things. And as we know, Happy Chaos resided within Ariels for the entirety of Xrd and for however long beforehand. And Ariels, when talking to Kai and Leia at the Celebration of Victory,
greatest scene in Revelator, by the way, so fucking good.
Like /pause, so creepy. She's telling them, like, I programmed myself to hate humans because I want to hate humans so that when I reach the end of my mission, I can feel a sense of elation. which
That
reminds
is
me a lot
such an
of
interesting
Happy Chaos.
motivation. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, like she wants to feel happy at the end of it all, like Happy Chaos. And there's also it goes back to the scene of her talking with Elfelt while she's partially lodged inside of Justice. And I noticed she has this thing where she looks at all of the time that she's spent working towards her goal and is like, oh, haven't I tried so hard? Don't I deserve to be spoiled? Because when she says to Elfelt, don't you think I've done well thus far? Like, doing all of this, keeping this mask on my face, working so hard. Quote, if I had a mother, she would stroke me on the head. Oh, you're such a good girl, and give me all the presents I want. And then uses that to contradict why Elfelt is being a bad daughter.
Real quick,
and
I
I
just
think
want to
that's
bring
really
up,
interesting.
like, that moment hit for me as someone that has a complicated relationship with my mother.
Oh, yeah, I
and
imagine.
it's the way she turns things back on herself to then lash out at other people. Like, that is a very human reaction. And because it's hypocrisy right there. Like, she can't sympathize or see the humanity within Elfelt to see why she's being cruel at all, because she's just saying, oh, well, what about me and my needs? And like, hey, why aren't we all just praising each other and continuously looking forward to things?
Yeah. She immediately then goes on to say that, like, oh, yeah, humans, you tried really hard for millions of years, but at the end of the day, you're just a burned egg. You can't unburn an egg. You just have to make it all over again. So she literally says, oh, you guys worked really hard too, but it doesn't apply to you.
Yeah. The double standards that she's always operating under, I think, are
quick.
really fun to look at.
I love that scene too, where she compares like rebuilding humanity and killing everyone to burned eggs, because she's telling this to Elfelt, a person who has been alive for 9 months and does not know how to cook eggs and has never cooked an egg before in her life. She's just assuming
Elfelt
she
does
knows
not
these
even
things.
know what she is exactly.
Like she is just speaking
Doesn't
at
know
Elfelt rather than
anything
talking to
other than
Elfelt.
what love is. Well, she doesn't even know what love is.
Yeah. Still just trying to figure it out. And really, the best possible person to learn it from is Ariel, so lucky her.
Yeah. Best mother of the year.
I would love to steer the conversation for a little bit towards Ariels and the treatment of Elfelt and Ramlethal as her daughters. How do you think she feels about the two of them? Because I feel like every action she's taking, like obviously she kills Ramlethal. She's outright, she kills Ramlethal, but it's all because of some grandiose plan, because Ramlethal was going to die anyways in her mind, and she just wanted to make it like without pain in the future, kind of, and also just wanted Elfelt was going to be forever alone no matter what, so she just wanted to get rid of that attachment before it could, hurt her more, I suppose. And obviously the ending of Revelator has her saying to Soul, please, can you please look out for my daughters? They are all that's left of me in the world. So it's like, is it a selfish attachment? Like, she loves her daughters because they are her? Or is it she loves her daughters because she created them and she wants them to be happy? It's an interesting thing.
I think the main part is like, with the course of Xrd, she slowly becomes, or realizes she's a human. That's, I think, why at the end she does something selfless, I guess, like something like an actual mother would do, like instead of being the clown pope she was before, now she's actually realizing her humanity, which you can actually see in Strife pretty well, how calm she is in Strife.
Yeah.
A lot of
much
different
Chaos was
She's
just
so happy looking. Like she's like talking to the soldiers and she's got this huge smile on her face. It makes me wonder, like, she's not even locked up in the ending of Strive. Like, how's she doing?
Yeah.
There's a very subtle, like, sort of...
playing. That's what she is doing. Like, no joke in the ending slides. She's on the streets. Like, I'm pretty sure it's actually the same street, like, in Xrd, where Venom and Robokai were at the end.
Yeah,
Beatrice was gonna say something.
Praying. Or preaching, rather.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is there's, like, a very subtle, like, transition across her character arc from, like, where she was initially, like, fully, like, influenced by the part of her that is the universal will, where it's very, like, robotic in nature, and she created the Valentines as tools, intending for them to be, like, emotionless, But by the end of Revelator, when she told, at the point that she had told Soul to take care of her daughters, at that point she had pretty much gained like humanity, and had actually like pretty much learned to view them as like people.
Yeah, and a good scene to show that is when she laughs at Bedman dying. Like, you can see her having this mask of sanity she had, like she was before in like Overture, like a completely logical being. But then in Xrd, and with it going on and her madness developing, then there's the
Something really
Bedman
cool
scene.
I want to bring
Ariels,
up.
I like you, but please don't do that to Bedman, that poor wet cat. No.
Something really cool I want to
Boy,
bring
don't
up
do that.
in respect to Ariels' motivations is how they change. Because in Revelator, she says outright her motivation is that she wants humanity to change because that is her God-given purpose, that was what she was created for, and it is hurting her, the fact that she cannot fulfill it because she is a robotic computer. Like, it is computer code that says she cannot fulfill this request, and she will keep trying until she doesn't. But in Strive, after everything has happened, and we see her and she's broken and defeated and she's locked up too in Strive, and she sees Soul and interrupts him, it's not that she says she wants humanity to evolve. It's not that she says she wants humanity to be okay, but she sees Eno, and you know what she tells them? The future is coming to attack us. That is a human motivation. She is afraid for the future. And I think that is the exact reason why, in the first place, Ariels is a woman. Because Daisuke took the inspiration to make her a mother. Someone that is a nurturing, caring person. Worrying about the future is something that a mother does. She's worried about the future for her children, for humanity, for everything. Daisuke did not need to make her a woman. Daisuke did not even have to make her human, but he made this a distinct choice that she is a woman that is in a position of power and is doing things out of a protection sense. And like, obviously, she goes full fucking mama bear and is violent, but also towards Strive, that is the human Ariels. She is worried for the future specifically, and that is so cool.
I mean, I think she might have a legit reason to fear the future, because you remember Xrd and whole thing with the and the grey dark future or whatever it was, like the future, like we saw the future that's fucked up when Axel travels to the future, like with the original.
The one in Xrd is the one that Ariels causes because she's just
but like it's still relates to the fact that still talks about the world ending somehow, and that's still like a plot point that has not been resolved. Like,
no, I believe that's when Eno's referring to the world ending. I believe it's an internal world that she's believing is ending, because there is no future for Eno. She sees nothing for anyone, and she will never return to William either.
Actually, that's fair, yeah, but still, I will talk about with Ramletal. There's still I'm pretty bad with the Ramletal with the host scene, so just ignore what I say pretty much. But with Ramletal, there was still, specifically said that it's Ramletal that ends the world.
Yeah.
Not anybody else, not anyone else, because if Eno has seen the future, and she should have known what Ariels does with justice and all that. But she said specifically, Ramletal is one to end the world, so that's like...
Not to talk too much about lore, and I'll just say this and then we'll skip to something else, but at the end of Eno's arcade mode in Sign, and with Ramlethal, she says, hey, I've killed Ramlethal many times before, but the world still ends, and that's where she realizes, oh, Ramlethal isn't the one causing the end of the world, it's something else. In this case, it was either the Conclave or Ariels, but yeah, it's a contradiction that she discovers.
Yeah, fair, but like, it's still... you're not that stupid to think, like, Ramletal is the only one. Like, I feel like there's something about Ramletal still, like, of course Ramletal in that situation is not, but like, there's also the fact that Ramletal grows stronger with each time fights her. Remember that? Could not beat her later, so I feel like there's something. I don't trust Ramletal. I love you, but I don't trust you yet.
No, I think I trust her completely. But in any case, how do you think...
You are going to get emotionally fucked in the next game.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me when I consider Ariels as the mother and how she relates to Ramlethal and Elfel. Like, obviously, when Sin is attacking her ruthlessly, saying, you don't even care, you're a mother, you're supposed to care, my mother cared for me, why don't you care about them? And she has that such solemn look, like, I do love Ramlethal. That's exactly why I had to kill her, because this future that I'm envisioning for humans, she isn't going to be there. Everyone will die except for Elfelt. So, and it's like, that's a scene that really struck me, where it's like, oh, that's such a unique angle of her.
Herais, like, because Valentines are just very strong clones of a human. So, like, in Herais, she is just an redundancy. Yeah.
But I also think
the Valentine scale from GG World, where it's similarities to Arya and Thur's congruent relationship with Justice, and it went from at the very top the original Valentine down to Jacko, then Elfelt.
The original Valentine or Elfelt, which is more close, it's just implied because the original looks more like Arya's. They just say that Elfelt is currently the one with the most compatibility with Justice, and Ramlethal has the least. With the current... wait, no, it was Jacko, then Elfelt, then Ram, but they say nothing about the original. That's... Sorry about that.
That was conjecture.
But I mean, the original Valentine looks one-to-one with Ariel, so it's like... It's pretty clear that she's a direct clone. While Jacko looks kinda like Ariel's, and Elfelt, if you skint, looks like, and Ramlethal looks nothing like her, so...
Yeah, and just to Bedman's point too, it's like impossible to perfectly replicate an individual because that would defy the meaning of an individual to begin with. So it's like, there's no way to create your one perfect Arya ever.
We see that the original Valentine, right? Because even if she was like a genetically like a near perfect copy, she still did not have her memory. She only had like fragments of her memory, so like if you don't have the memory, aka the soul, because memories and souls are like linked in Guilty Gear, she was still a different person because she had a different soul, different memories.
Yeah.
Jay?
Sorry, I just wanted to cycle back really quick to mention sort of what you guys were saying, and just a little bit before we started thinking about Ariels as the mother, but to all of your points about like Ariel's evolving relationship with humanity, I just wanted to say that I think that it was a form of selfishness for her to say that, like, oh, please protect my daughters, they're all that's left of me in this world. But I think it's that Daisuke approved form of selfishness, right? Like something that she's always possessed but really failed to reconcile as the product of a human being and the united subconscious of humanity. It's a really typical existential journey that she embarks on. She starts by attributing all of her worth and the others to the external. She's subsuming her individuality under the approval of the original, like Sin mentioned. She's doing it all so she can be pat on the head, to have someone else tell her that she did well. But as she grows more human and she's confronted with her and her motivations, flaws, and her daughter's emotions as they're influenced by the world around her, I think she finally decides for herself that there's something that she wants and cares about in this world, and that is her daughters. Like, that's what the extent of her humanity is. It's Daisuke trying to reach out very directly to people and say, like, individuals have value, and it's because they give it to themselves. There's no one out there that can give it to you. It's up to you to do it for you. And the moment that you try to allow someone else to do it, you're playing yourself, like in the case of somebody like Bedman, or, you're kind of like wasting your time, like Ariels had been thinking that, like, these aren't human beings.
That's similar to Milia too, like Milia and her with Zato. Like, Milia thought out her word. Actually, Venom too, like, out their word came from with their relationship with Zato, but with we see clearly with Venom how he came to realize he's his own person and does not need Zato, and with Milia with... Well, it's not clearly shown because X2 is X2.
Yeah. Oh, old non-canon X2.
Yeah, it's something you see...
Except when it's not, and except when it's...
Yeah. I think it's something you could see manifest.
Why did you do this?
No, it's his vision. It's his vision. You gotta respect it. But no, I think it's something you could see manifest with the whole cast, really, because we were just talking about Anji a little bit before this, and then I'm sure once we get to Asuka, it'll be much of the same. But that notion of, like, there is no one perfect standard that something will ever fall into, and to do that actually is reductive. To say, like, oh, that this thing is perfect, like, no, being imperfect, it's so much greater and allows you to encompass so much more and be so whole and happy compared to when you think you're like, oh, I'm this god, I've attained oneness, I'm like, you know, the singular thing. Does that make sense? Like, to say that there's one truth out there is actually short-sighted.
Actually, I will say that this works really well with, like, Daisuke has stated in an interview, like, multiple times in interviews, that the overall theme of Guilty Gear is what it means to be human. And that's really closely tied to with like identity and what it means to be human and what is the sort of a person. Like that's.
I think
like every
Sin had something to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say the story of Soul in the fridge came to mind. That Kai once told. I think it was Jacko in Strive. You know, Soul goes into the giant pantry in Illyria Castle, and he's surrounded by all of this like super expensive, fancy, delicious liquor, but he chooses the bottle that's like shitty and cheap.
He chooses
because even though he
wine.
knows that there's something better for him, this is what he likes best. It suits him best. So that kind of
Dunkin' Donuts are right, like
to be perfect would be to lose something.
Yeah, the thesis of Strive, and I guess as Guilty Gear as a whole, is that necessary frivolities are what make someone human. Having things things that are imperfect and having hobbies that you constantly build towards to work to make yourself better and to enjoy life as a tangential thing is the meaning of humanity.
So like, if hobbies mean to be a better person, so like Testament is the best person, right? Like.
Honestly, I wonder if Daisuke will ever come out and
this 100 hobbies. Like Testament knows the meaning of life, alright. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah, honestly.
Something I want to bring up too is Ariel's, in respect to being a mother and protectiveness, is how she clearly cherishes Ramathal. She cherishes Alfel as like her golden child, her golden children. But she is also the surrogate mother to Bedman, who she is ruthlessly cruel to and destroys. And I would just like to examine that angle of it, if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I have thoughts. I was gonna bring that up at some point, but
Bedman PFP has thoughts? Shock horror.
it's heavily implied that Bedman lost his mother at a young age. Like he says Delilah doesn't know what their own mother looks like, which implies he does.
He does.
So
I mean, it could just be like thinking about it. Delilah was always in like the sleep dimension backyard thing, so she like never had the chance to wake up. But that's like a different discussion.
He definitely uses that angle of like Bedman having lost his mother to like manipulate him, and it's because of that he's like he like never really questions the lies that she tells him that the absolute world will allow him to achieve his goals of waking up Delilah and bringing everyone that he kills back, even though like if you examine that it definitely reads as bullshit, but he just never considered, because you know the manipulation of Ariel's taking like the motherly role that he needed in his life, basically, sort of blinded him.
At the end, when she pulled the rug out from under him, like really, like all the jokes about him looking like Mort from Madagascar, fucking aside, but like. The way that he like breaks down at the end, it was like, you lied to me. It's like it almost feels mundane, like she thought of it as just a white lie, but for him it was totally crushing.
It really strikes me that he looks like a child throwing a tantrum, like just losing his mind, like no, you promised you would take me to the carnival, and it's like this is the most world-ending thing he's ever felt in his life, and it literally ends his world.
Yeah.
Wait, how old was Delilah? Just
12.
can somebody remember? Was she 12?
Yes.
12, yeah. There's a joke about it.
Okay, so Bedman is slightly older, so Bedman is for sure 14, right? We accept that he's a 14-year-old.
There's age discourse
he's in his
because
mid to late teens.
he's mid to late teens, so he's 16 to 19.
Yeah.
No, but 14 is like perfect for his personality, like, I mean, think about it.
Hold on, I don't want to bring too much attention to Bedman, because I want to focus this episode on Ariel, and I think Beatrice had more to say.
Anyways, one very interesting thing is how, like, if we consider, like, how Ariel takes on, like, a mother role, the role of a mother to both the Valentines and Bedman. She when she presents herself to the Valentines, it's very indirect until she abducts Ariels in until she abducts Elfel in Revelator. I have a quote here where Elfel describes how the Valentine's relationship with their mother. She literally says they're given errands and orders and rules to follow, but it's all just implanted as memories before we're born. Nobody ever tells us to do it. So Ram and I have never touched or seen our mother. So she's just basically treating them not really as people, despite having that mother, despite taking on the role of a mother to them. She doesn't even present herself to them, but she does present herself to Bedman with her human persona of Ariels. While to the Valentine, she presents herself as the universal will, literally just commands.
It's almost
that
initially
are given very indirectly.
Obviously, Ariels is someone that learns to love her children, right? But and that's why she's able to freely use Bedman, because she does not love Bedman. But it almost makes me wonder, did she put a degree of separation between her and Elfel and Valentine and Ramlethal because she valued them, and then
partly the case. I think originally it was just they are tools to her, but as she became more human, she kept up the mask of being separate from them, so she herself would develop to care about them more. So she didn't have to think about, no, I'm not doing anything wrong, those are just tools. Let's ignore
Yeah.
She tried to use the same excuse as to why she needed to kill Ramlethal as well, because Elfel needed to have as few people that she cared about as possible. So that would include herself.
I think we talk about we're sort of talking about her as one entity, but she's of course she is technically 3 entities combined. She's for most of Revelator. She's Ariels, the human, Universal Will, the information entity that merged with her, and Happy Chaos, who's directly influencing her, but sort of in a spirit.
I wanted to bring up
I
that
think
aspect.
wrong to call Ariels and the universe to separate people. It's more the universal will turned into Ariels, the same way the original turned into Happy Chaos,
Pretty much, yeah. But also
Ariels is the human that developed from the robotic code the universal will was, so it's order soul and soul also, it's a same person but very different people, I guess.
Yeah. Universal will is the metaphysical form, while the
she was literally born into being Ariels the human. From the womb, kind of. Evangelion. But,
let's not talk about Evangelion, I have not seen it, but also I don't care.
Nah, you'll like it. Go watch it.
I will not. Well, I like the music, but other than that, I'm
His
just going to
opinions on
sleep.
Fanta, completely unrelated.
But yeah,
I think it's pretty dope.
something I wanted to bring about in a metatextual sense. Do you believe the decision that they make in Strive, that Happy Chaos was the one pushing for Ariel's impulsiveness in Revelator, was a good decision, writing-wise?
Strive writing is very spotty in general, so
I would disagree,
I have to
but
separate the idea from the execution, kind of I like... If I have to say, I hate it. I think the decision to have Happy Chaos to be bring on the insanity is dumb. I like it way more when it's just the conflict inside her mind of following the machine code and her being a human who does not want to be a human. I think that's far more interesting than Happy Chaos being in her ear and telling,
yeah, I completely
you should
agree.
kill
Absolutely.
people. Hey, do you want to
Interpretation.
Hey, did you know about mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell? That's the shit he would do.
Yeah.
In,
Beatrice,
in my
you were gonna say-
interpretation, I don't think Chaos was ever really in control of Ariels, but he merged with her. He merged with him to learn about humanity. Daisuke said, I think. There's an interview where Daisuke said that.
Yeah, it's because this was part of her desire to learn about human desire, which was something she did not have.
I think she's just when she's in like her Joker persona, she's definitely just sort of not Happy Chaos possessing her. It's just her drawing on like Happy Chaos's like.
She's drawing on the desire of humanity. Like we know that Happy Chaos took all the desire of the humanity, or at least a part of it from Ino.
If I work in the defense of that writing decision,
inside Ariel's drawing that the whole desire of humanity, which also drove Happy Chaos insane. I think that's more the intention, but.
Yeah, if I work in the defense
you can remove
of that
Happy
writing,
Chaos from this and just give her the desire of humanity to go insane. I think.
Yeah.
I think if I work.
The whole. Like the Russian Jola part of it, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's the universal will inside the body of Ariels, who is the same person, and inside that is Happy Chaos, who is the original. Like, I think that's dumb, but like, yeah.
I think if I work from the perspective that I am pro that decision, it's more that Happy Chaos just kind of nudged her to act more impulsively. Not that he literally did anything, because he is just representative of human desire, but more that this is what pushes her to act so rashly, like where she decides, this is the time I want to strike, and I want to strike loudly, I want to go now. Where it's like, this is all still her own will, and the will of the universe, and her own decisions, but it's just he gave her the push.
Yeah, he gave her like the emotions, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Happy Chaos just made her go overdrive in all the emotions, so like she's very impulsive. Like she tries her best to follow her like machine like code and tendency, but like Happy Chaos is in her ear going like, I think you should kill Ramlet, or that would be funny.
It's possible that and again, like, this is a genuine question because I don't know if there's anything that contradicts this or not, that Happy Chaos was the one who like gave her the idea to be human. Because of her.
No, I think because Ariels seeked out the original Happy Chaos to like get the desire of humanity from him, so she could become humanity. So becoming a human is her own idea, and Happy Chaos just
the initial transformation into a human, rather than as a constant force in the back of her head.
Yeah, he just like catalyzed that one event.
Happy Chaos gave her emotions. That's pretty much it, because she was a machine with a human body, but she was missing the emotions. And Happy Chaos had all the emotions. He literally, he literally had all the emotions, all the desires of humanity. Which let's not talk about Happy Chaos too much, but like it explains so much, because in his mind is every good and bad desire of humanity. So like it makes sense why he's so chaotic, because he has literally every bad idea and every good idea any human has ever in history had inside his head.
Yeah.
So
just to your point.
Jay.
Did you have something to say, Sin? I'm sorry.
What? Oh yeah, I'm not saying that.
No, I was just gonna circle back just to your point, Abby, about you not liking the turn of it being HC that would be motivating, like we were just talking about. I think I'm definitely of two minds about it. I think it absolutely does undermine her like little existential journey that I was just talking about, to say that it was like spurned on by another character, because it really should be something that chiefly concerns the self. But at the same time, I think another really centralizing theme of Guilty Gear is a lot of these journeys of the self, like good and bad, are kind of spurned on by other people, and recognizing that like you are definitely like a coherent individual, but we're all one of many, right? And we're part of a community that influences us in good and bad ways. Like a lot of characters with really critical arcs are like spurned on chiefly by someone or group of people that they care about. So I think it's
I think the execution, especially Strife story as a whole, was executed like the worst you can do, because it was rushed as fuck.
No, I think it's really good, but continue.
I think it's good, but it's far from what I think it originally was, or what it should have been. I feel like I'm watching it, and I feel like scenes were cut out of the script last minute, and they just jumped to the next scene. I'm like, hey, wait.
I think Strife's story is something that is
more
worth...
Jacko content. I wanted more... I wanted Solo versus Asuka fight. Where the fuck is it?
Yeah.
No,
Like, Sol vs Asuka, I'm like 99% sure was planned, but then we have 2 animators and 1 week to animate this. Fuck.
Yeah. No, I'm sure.
Holding out for it happening in another story too.
I know, yeah. Fingers crossed.
what happened,
But,
guys? That people that were like, "Oh, guys, another story is animated so much better than Strive. They finally learned how to use that." No, they didn't. It's the same animation, guys. What are you guys talking about?
I think it's like an half a step better. Like there's less like reused gameplay animation, but it's still not good animation. It less looks like somebody took like the running animation, slowed it down, and put it in the background for a character.
Yeah.
That's like,
but it's still rough, very rough.
yeah, the main story also just has more like very like blatantly rushed moments. Like I think Ino's transformation, where they just sort of expanded her model.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I like it, but it's
This reminds me of a very
Visuals
important
of it,
scene
but still.
for Ariels that we should definitely talk about. And it's her last scene in the entire story. And it's her in the dream sequence with Chaos. That is the last time we ever see her outside of the one clip of her in the ending credits where she's standing there smiling. But
being homeless.
she's in a dreamlike sequence and she sits there seeing her creator, I guess her father in a sense, and asking, why are you doing this? And it's very interesting that the way it's all shot, because it's in a dreamlike, like angel-like quality to it, and rules are broken. It is very similar to Bedman's dream world. And of course, there's also the very awkward scene where she turns into a giantess and then picks him up. That was weird. But outside of that,
That was a good scene. I liked it.
but yeah, it's interesting that she's doing all this world-breaking stuff and just. It's so surreal how she's standing there saying, why do you do the things you do? Why are you trying to doom humanity? And then it ends with Happy Chaos saying, no, I'm here to be here. I'm not here to do anything at all. I'm existing. And that's the last thing we ever see of her. And I'm really curious about your guys' thoughts on that scene and like any meanings you pulled from it or anything.
I don't know if I could get much into that
Ariel's,
rather than just
whole
talking about
world got fucked up in that scene. Her whole existence was to do the one command her creator asked her of. Like, pretty much, I don't think she actually have met her creator like a lot. Like, there's the one time he created her, and the other time when she took Happy Chaos into her, and that's pretty much his. Then he returns and is fucking up shit, and then she's like, I nearly destroyed humanity so I can save humanity. What are you doing?
There's also the comment that he doesn't recognize her at all and he barely knows her, and it's like, I think there's a moment where it cuts to her face and she looks like taken aback, like I think she feels real human hurt, like, oh, my creator does not recognize me. And I think that's like the first time she really feels within the same position as her daughters, like, because Ramlethal and Elfel probably felt the exact same way with the way their mother treated them, a mother they never met.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because last time, I think it might have been implied she already created the Ariel's body but had no emotions, so like, she went from a cold heart machine to a human from the 2 times she saw Happy Chaos, so like, it makes sense why it would be like that, but still.
Yeah, to me, I think that reads pretty directly as like the culmination of her like whole existential journey, right? To recognize that external truth that you once attributed all your value to is not only something unsuitable to be a proper metaphysical framework on its own, but is like overtly flawed, right? Your mother, your father, the person who you took all your lessons and values from is also just another flawed human being. And at the end of the day, the onus remains on you as an individual to turn around and say, like, I'm going to actively think about the things that I'm experiencing for me and say for myself, these are the things that I value. So I think it's really poignant that Ariel specifically is the one interrogating HC, saying, why are you making things harder on human beings? Because she's finally understood like the love in all of them and thereby herself. She's like, oh, I'm a person too, I'm an individual, I'm making my own choices, I'm living my own life. Why aren't you doing that? Like they showed me the way, so like why can't you just let them be, dude?
and that's why
An interesting thought I just had was about Ariel's, like, you can almost see her story like being becoming from a child to a teenager to an adult, like growing up and
Yeah.
becoming a
Yeah,
and
yeah.
young. I think actually it like fits really well with her. Like she had a very naive idea of like saving humanity, and then she realized she cannot do and tried to do something else, and then becoming a mother and all that stuff. Like that's one way you can look at her story.
Can I jump on that
Yeah, no,
real
absolutely.
quick?
Yeah.
I had a note about
Yeah,
this.
continue.
Oh, sorry, Sin.
Ariels has, in Xrd, this, like, overarching thing where she compares herself to a child, like, multiple times.
Yeah.
Like we talked earlier about the, like, oh, if I had a mother, she'd give me head pats and tell me I'm swell.
Yeah.
But, when she badmouthed
happy
Elfelt,
chaos.
or, sorry, it wasn't Elfelt, it was, pardon,
don't
sorry, I'm
recall
reading my own
either.
notes. When she's talking to Elfelt about, like, oh, the humans, they did so well, they tried so hard, but then in the scene with Leo and Kai, she says these horrible things about humans. But then she says, like, oh, but I'm not at fault. I'm innocent. It's just like you can't say that was out of line. That's as out of line as a kid putting a chocolate bar in the shopping cart, right? As it's about to get ready.
I remember.
She sees herself as innocent because she is infantile, almost like how she calls the world and the humankind, the redundancies, infantile because they are.
Oh my god! It just occurred
that.
to me. I know why she sees herself as infantile. It's because by her own logic and by the logic of the universe, she thinks she's not breaking any rules. She is doing what she thinks is completely correct and right. So of course she's like this. She's not talking to people that think she's done wrong. She's not talking to anything. She's doing the correct, moral, righteous actions by her own judgment and by the world's judgment. So she is acting like this because there is no harm or foul or social etiquette that she's breaking. There is nothing at all.
Yeah, culpability.
One quick thing to add on to that. I also thought that all of that is so funny when you take Bedman's win quote, where he goes on that whole ramble about how people give children slack because, oh, they're innocent, they're just children, they don't know any better, and analyzing the point where that stops.
Yeah, I think Ariel's like you can see she's more of a teenager who has yet to accept that the world is not black and white. Like she has to grow up and realize that there is a lot of gray. Like it's not as simple. And also, I like to add that what she's doing is right from her perspective. This is one of the greatest lines in the series. It's like what Justice says to Kai. From her point of view, she is justice. Like something along those lines. Ariels is doing the same thing from her point of view. It is justice, it is correct, it is completely right for her to do so because, from her
it goes
point
right
of
back
view.
around to her Uncanny Valley stuff, where she just says the most wild, out-of-pocket shit that to a human just sounds like totally infeasible. How could you say that with a straight face? And it makes her feel all the more alien to us.
Not only that, she keeps
That's the same
combining
thing with
metaphors
justice,
too. Like
it's
she's
from her point of view, it makes sense with justice and Ariels, but to a human, it does not make sense. Like with Kai had to accept that gears are not evil. Like from their point of view, humanity tried to kill all of them. Like they have the right to fight back and like do what from their point of view is right. So same goes with Ariels, but Ariels is one person, Gears fell a whole race, so it's kind of a different thing.
Can I share a theory, or I guess a reading that I have had of Guilty Gear that I don't want to say it's completely correct, but it's something that I have viewed the entire series from, and it's that Missing Link is a story about striking down government, because it is the US government overreaching, militarizing itself, going against the world, and now you are facing the repercussions of the US military. That is what Justice is. She is a representation of the military. Then you move on to XX. You are moving on to the victims of government violence. Dizzy is a pacifist, and we are all hunting her down by the shadow government who has put out hits on her. It is something about how the government will mislabel people who are minorities, or people that are, different from us in some sort of way. Then you move on to Xrd. And Xrd is very interesting because the thing we are striking down in Sign is shadow government as a whole. which we take down in the conclave, and then what we tackle afterwards is the idea of religion. The ending of Xrd's sign is a person announcing to a crowd, we have gone through such strife, such triumph, such horrible things, but the reason why we were able to do it, it's because religion has given us hope. It's because of Ariel specifically that we were all given hope, not because of anything that we have done. It's because we all look towards this one person to give us the idea of a future.
It's like the reflection of like all this assault relationship at idols and corruption in religion.
And then it's so Ariel's, I think, is meant to, that's why she is so like Catholic themed and Pope themed, is because she's supposed to be the idea of religion. Not that religion is bad, because Kai is representative of why religion is a good thing and why how to healthily follow.
In any video game ever, like Kai is the most Christian character ever. Like,
and it's beautiful, like him and Sin, and how they use religion as like not the entire focal points of their existence, but things that guide them into like how morality should be used as like a guiding point, rather than like, this is everything I will use everything on, and this is my my closed book. Like I think Kai knows how to look things at.
I don't remember exactly what Kai said, but it was the scene where Soul stole the bottle and they were talking about like, there was something, I don't remember exactly what Kai said, but I remember that scene had something like something sarcastic towards him being a Christian.
I'm a Christian man, after all. Something like that.
Yeah, that's like, he realizes that Christianity is not like the perfect answer to everything. Like, he's grown up since like, I guess the time of like before Missing Link, and when he fought Justice, and Justice explains her whole philosophy, like from her point of view, it's justice. Before that, Kai was like, I guess the bad Christian that believed everything the book had to say.
Yeah, like he remains devout, but he's not letting religion rule him. He's the one using it to help him.
He questions everything from then on.
Exactly.
Like, but even then, he still finds comfort in it, like in Overture when he prays to the statue, and even in Missing Link when he prays after all.
Oh yeah, I had to talk about it's the second greatest line in the series, which was when Sol came up to him and he said, like, I forgot what he exactly said. But
he said, your God sent me because your confession's taking too long.
That's a fucking good line, like, and also I want to credit, like, the Overture, the art book, short stories had 2 writers that only worked on that. Like, I can actually, let me double check who wrote them.
Hold on, but real quick, I wasn't exactly finished. So, Xrd Revelator is religion, and how we look towards religion, and specifically religious figures, to give us the correct answers, and we push all responsibility onto them for, our future. And at the end of Revelator, we realize, okay, this is a human being too. Ariel's is human, and she's taking fault for this, which then leaves us in Strive. Strive is meant to be, how are we changing? So now that we have established that government is something that won't save us, the military is something that won't save us, and now religion is something that won't save us, how do we look towards the future? Strive's answer is that you have to look towards yourself, and I think that's what makes Eno and Happy Chaos very, very interesting villains, because Eno, there's no system that Eno is responsible for. There is no, the villain of Strive is Eno. Like, there's no organization keeping her in place. It is her herself, and her conflict is that she cannot trust herself. She does not know how to move forward with herself. She cannot accept herself. And so the argument of Strive is, how do you learn to accept yourself and move on? So it is characters as individuals working. And obviously Happy Chaos is a greater...
and Happy Chaos and Eno, like, nearly everyone. Even I think Nagoriyuki, like, partially has that, like... But, yeah.
And also, Happy Chaos is really interesting because the reason why he is such a devastating villain compared to Ariels, compared to Testament, compared to Justice, compared to Dizzy, compared to anyone else,
really
Valentine, is that...
just a mid boss that just got beaten up.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is that Happy Chaos has no self. He is a guy, but he fully subsumes himself to the world. He allows, he makes changes in the world, but that's only because he sees only the greater picture. He is only selfless. Soul is all about being selfish, and by Strive we have learned the lesson that we can only rely on ourselves from previous Guilty Gear titles where I just said we can't rely on anything else. Strive is everyone challenging with their own motivations, that's what Jacko is. But, like, oh, I lost my point a bit, but yeah, we're all challenging ourselves within Strive, and that's why Happy Chaos is so interesting.
Yeah, no, especially when compared to Ariels. I really like that too, because as a character who used to be the universal will to, like, take part of that out and say, like, you know, Happy Chaos has this perverted sense of selflessness where it's like Daisuke's trying to say, to a certain extent, like, that is kind of fucked up to just say that, like, I'm completely into this notion of collectivism. I'm just at the whims of society as a whole. I move with this flow, and it's like, no, you have to be the nail that sticks out, even with the fear of getting hammered down looming above you. Because if you fail to do that, you're a monster. You gotta live for you.
Yeah, that's like a criticism of nihilism almost, like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I found the names. They were for the Guilty Gear 2 Overture Material Collection short stories. God, I hate that name. So they were written by Joji Ushisawa and Masaki Mejiro. Those two only have worked with Guilty Gear on that specific book and their own light novels, but
they
like
are good ones, though. I really like them.
Very underground writers, like even compared to the other writers in Guilty Gear, they have worked on anime and successful light novels and manga. Like the others, like you can actually point to, like they have like what the fuck was that guy's name? Anyway, the lead writer for X and Double X, Kaiho Norimitsu, he wrote School Life, like the zombie anime.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so like,
that's a weird one.
Yeah.
So
like.
I just wanted to ask, does anyone else have any lasting thoughts about this topic? Because I have another one I want to bring up, and I just wanted to check if there was anything that I missed or that you guys missed or wanted to bring up.
Not too much beyond the fact that I just think it's so perfect that Daisuke also chose to have her be the Pope stand-in, because kind of like what we were talking about and sort of what you were saying, D, which I really wholeheartedly agree with. Just the fact that, like, he's trying to make a statement about the metaphysical shorthands people often take and how a character like Ariels would rightfully see it as very profane, that these flawed human beings, these redundancies, are kind of using her as a way to avoid culpability for determining the trajectory of their own lives by saying, like, oh, we're just going to put it all into religion, it's all on you, you go do it, we're not going to think about it. And how that really would lean into her philosophy of being like, oh, well, these aren't human beings, they're not living as human beings, they're just machines no greater than I. So, like, neat. That's all I'm saying.
I would like to throw onto that. I think it's also worth talking about when we talk about the preamble, the one guy, like the nameless jogger, who like gave as Ariel's on stage, he was like gassing her up, and he referred to all of those horrible tragedies that happened before, the Baptisma 13 incident, everything to do with justice, everything to do with everything before that. He called them all like just tests from God, totally underselling the victim.
I think
and everything going around. And I guess also ties into
Hold on, Abby. I want. Can Beatrice finish her thought?
Yeah. I'm just.
I had a thought. But yeah. Going back to what we said about like how Daisuke said that the theme of Guilty Gear is like what it means to be a human. What I found interesting is that I think Ariels is actually, as the universal will, is like the only character to have ever sort of defined her own answer for that. Like in the like backstory that they give the universal will in the middle of Revelator, it says that she came to the conclusion that a human is defined as something that has a soul, and this definitely like and this happened when she ran into like a sort of block that complicated the definition of human to her. Like there are like in the Guilty Gear world, there are like gears, vampires, robots, etc. that could be defined as having humanity, but for her to like find a definition and basically be like corrupted by that definition, it shows that humanity isn't so like strongly defined, like as we see from all the ostensibly non-human characters in Guilty Gear that have like humanity, quote unquote.
It's interesting that so many non-human characters have discovered their humanity within Guilty Gear, yet the person who is the most non-human of all is the human-led deity that we've created, the Pope, Ariels. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Can I had a funny thought talking about when we are talking about the Valentine army. We only ever saw 3 Valentines created by Ariels. So was like, I know they talk about more coming, but like Ariels, were you like, you were a bit compensating there, buddy. Like 3 people is not an army.
Well, there were 10 million Valentines back season of 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like they said, like in the back to the art book, Guilty Gear to Overture Material Collection, they said it took 100 years inside the backyard to create one Valentine.
Well, so, yeah, like, because that was a special Valentine. She was the leader of the rest of them.
I mean, yeah, but like, it's I took that to mean like it still would take a long time to create a Valentine in general. Like it's not that easy thing. You just put it in the oven and 5 minutes later you have an. How would you get like an army of Valentines literally?
Roxy,
but I guess you can actually take it to mean Ramletal is the army, like because Ramletal declared war on humanity alone. Like she's a one-person army. Like I guess. But it's just funny to think about, like, Ariel was just being very human and was like, no, I have an army. Fuck, I have only 3 people. It's an army. Trust me, Asuka. It's an army.
Roxy?
Oh, I was saying, Asuka theorizes with Raven at the end of Overture that, like, they have no way whether to prove that, like, the next time a Valentine surfaces, it won't be millions of them. So I think taking the whole it took 100 years to like develop Valentine thing literally might be against, like, not work in our favor here, because what is 100 years in the backyard anyway?
Yeah.
It can, like, the backyard in general has a very funky like the time works there very differently, like, because we know that Elfeld and Ramletal were created after the original Valentine died. So like, that's like 1 or 2 years to cook them in the backyard. So like, if it's 100 years, it's like 1 year equals 100 years in the backyard or something like that.
Yeah, it's also possible that having like the original Valentine as a basis made the next 2 made creating the next 2 like much easier, basically.
Yeah, I think that would still like. I don't think it's possible to just go from 100 years to 5 seconds to make a Valentine. I don't think that's like...
Anyways, I feel like this is all a bit besides the point, though, about talking about Ariels and things. And I wanted to bring up that other topic I had mentioned. The other topic I had mentioned before, and it's something that we haven't talked about yet, but I think is a very, very important part of her, and that is her voice actress. And how she portrays the heel turn, where in Xrd Sign and the beginning of Revelator, she speaks within a monotone tone, she speaks as very queenly and above it all, kind of Ojo-sama-y. And then as soon as she makes the heel turn, she gets 10 million different distinct voices and impressions. Like, she does not know how to act. She has no sense of self exactly. She's just acting on whatever kind of whim she feels like. She goes, oh, cutesy like this, and then also like this, and also she speaks kinda like this. Like, what incredible voice work! I really adore it.
I think Guilty Gear in general has amazing voice actors. Well, the English side less so, but I think that's more to do with the voice directing being kinda but the Japanese voice actors are all like, well, in addition to being great voice actors, they are also like legends in the industry. Like Johnny is voiced by a Cell's voice actor. I try to Zato, like Zato's current voice actor is Dio.
And Deadpool.
I forgot who voiced Kai. I know he was a big deal also.
He voices Kai's voice actor voiced Trunks in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's it.
How many are there in between Dragon Ball and Guilty Gear? That's so interesting, actually.
I'm looking up Ariel's voice actor. It's Junko Minagawa.
incredible.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, I can't tear Ariels apart from her voice, and I think her voice is something that especially makes her character. She is such a unique villain that I've not seen before. Like, I think the closest I can compare to her is perhaps maybe Junko Enoshima from Danganronpa, but I think Junko is just a pale comparison to Ariels, and is also just not that good of a villain at all. But
Yeah. That's actually part of why I don't like the Happy Chaos reveal of influencing her, because I like she's such a good villain on her own, so I like want her to be completely her own thing. So like bring Happy Chaos in kinda retrospectively ruins how well I guess of a girl boss she is, like how independent she is. Like,
she is.
she's a strong, independent woman.
I really like too on the
Like genuinely, yeah.
the visual aspect of it too. That when she decides to tear the mask off, she applies another mask, and she applies clown makeup specifically. And the one she applies is mime makeup. And the reason why it's applied like that, especially with French mimes, is that around the eyes and the mouth, it allows you to accentuate your eyes and your mouth movements. Like when you move your mouth, it becomes larger than life. And it's because she wants to show as many emotions as possible, which is also a really fun comparison to her daughters, which both have very different interpretations of emotions.
Well, and I think it's more like that was born to live with emotions.
Oh, Roxy.
Did not have emotion as birth and had to learn them. So like, continue.
Another thing about her makeup is that it seems to actually be influenced by corpse paint, which was it's been used by a lot of like metal musicians, but particularly black metal. Which is conceived as a satanic metal genre, and like
I never made the comparison that's metal makeup. That's so cool.
It's ironic that she's like using a makeup that's very associated with like black metal, like the satanic sort of metal scene that like literally like they would burn down churches.
Yeah, specifically second black metal that introduced like fully yeah, it makes sense. Like it's very the opposite of what Ariels is.
Yeah.
I just realized, is she meant to look like the members of Kiss, kind of? Where it's like, oh, she's also got the same big hair as them.
No, not Kiss. Kiss makeup, like it's... Let's not get into the history fully, but Kiss makeup just looks the same, but it's like, it's not a one-to-one like inspiration. Like the reason black metal has the corpse paint is due to King Diamond, the singer of King Diamond and Merciful Fate, who also had like the first real corpse paint.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not too knowledgeable about black metal.
Kiss is just a coincidence. Kiss looks like that by chance.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't actually know too much about it, so I was just asking a question because I had no idea.
Well, Kiss works also because Kiss, like the musicians play characters, not like each makeup is a character, like so. Like actually, the best way to see is with the Scooby-Doo crossover movie where they are multiversal gods. I'm not joking. That's one of the best Scooby-Doo movies. But anyway, they are characters of the Kiss members, like
that's cool.
Catman and such.
Roxy, you had something to say?
I think Oh, sorry. Did I fuck? I think I was saying. Oh, right. The connection to black metal is fun when you consider that Elfa was engaged to a death metal singer.
Yeah.
Actually, I go into the history. Black metal originally started like the second wave of black metal, the one that burned churches, as a reaction to death metal being, in their opinion, not good music, like not real metal. Like so, but like people made death metal, and the Swedish and the black metal community was like, no, what the fuck are you doing? That's like the opposite of like metal was supposed to be. Like death metal is very like a slasher movie, but like very not scary. It's just shocking. That's the thing. While black metal wanted to draw from metals like actual horror roots, like the atmosphere and like the difference between Friday the 13th and like aliens. That's the difference.
To get back on topic, Beatrice, you had something to say?
Yeah, I think specifically the combination of her having corpse paint and like and being like dressed like the Pope it might be a reference to the band Ghost, because like their front band does that.
Really? I have to go look them up. Hold on.
Might be.
I think that's possible, but like, Ghost did not really flow. Actually, I have to check when they.
Oh man, I'll put this
up.
up on the video itself. But I just looked at this picture, and the first thing I think of is the fact that Ariel's like. First of all, this guy has a big hat. Also, he's religious, and also I think the fact like on the right, those look like the Valentine units from Overture.
Yeah.
The visual, yeah.
Ghost. Ghost started in 2006. Their second album and major label debut, Infestissumam, was released in 2013. So like they were a thing at the time that like.
Yeah, what I'm thinking about like the
before
second
the-
Those look so
one
cool.
make them popular. So I think Daisuke could be like a super like in depth with the modern metal scene, like looking at all the new bands and such. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, it
They
could
were
be
on the
more of a
rise.
coincidence. I really doubt it has anything to do with Overture, like anything.
They
at
were
all.
on the rise while Revelator was in development, which I believe is like, Revelator's when we first see her with like the makeup. So
Revelator. When did it release? It's released in 2015 or 2016. I think the arcade was 2015, but the story was in 2016 with the home release.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's possible, but like, I'm not sure. It could be a. I will say Papa Emeritus Zero looks very much like Arias.
I have notes here, and there's actually one last thing that I wanted to bring up, and it was the fact that the last plot point I guess I wanted to bring up, and it's the fact that Ariels changes how Elfelt looks. Like obviously Elfelt is within Justice, but Ariels dresses up Elfelt to look like black metal-y, and also just like she's wearing all the whites, all the color has been ripped from her, and now she's looking very sultry too. Like she emphasized her sexuality more in a bit with the whites and black tights and stuff.
Did it herself, like.
And I just wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts on that too, because it's interesting that Ariels would make the decision to dress up Elfelt like that.
I've always kind of assumed that it had something to do with her transformation at the end of Sign, but obviously when she reverted from that, she looked just like she was in the wedding dress again. So, yeah, the Ariels must have dressed her in the ripped up top and
It's
then
interesting
given her a
too.
dye job.
The only thing I was able to get from it is that Ariel's comments on the fact that like, oh, you look so cute, and she gives Elfelt a collar around her neck, like, oh, I am subjugating you. You are under my
I
control.
think it's like a.
She even calls it a
I
cute
to say
necklace
that-
and says she has a good sense of style, like, which, does make me kind of cotton on to, like, she must have put it on her.
I think I want to say. I think what they're trying to say is like, Arias at that point was like kind of split on being human, like the mother role, and being the universal will, continuing their original like programming. So I'm like, I guess she's trying to be like a mother dressing up her daughter, but also the collar is still like she's following her orders and using her as
That's
a tool.
really
like,
interesting. I never interpreted like, oh, this is her fucked up version of like trying to be motherly. Like, oh, I'm dressing up my girl for school. Like, oh, I'm dressing her
She's
up.
like playing with the doll.
Well, I think
my
it's more
God,
like
yeah.
her first job and first getting the word and first doing something like something like that more. But still, I think I could say there's also the fact that Elfelt keeps that appearance with her hair and eyes, like in later games. Like in Strive, she appears with her Revelator like hair, not the pink hair that she had in Sign, which I think actually could hint that that's her true form, like with the whole thing with how they revealed that her kind of backstory was kinda iffy if it was real or not, and she was actually a double agent. So it could be that she looked different because like she was made to be implanted memories of a different person than she actually was. So with Revelator, she is her true self.
Jay.
Like
I think to that extent,
her outfit is like decided by Ariels, but like her appearance is her true self. Like it's like a split kind of deal. Like it's
Jay.
Yeah, I think it's more like a kind of motherly cruelty rather than doting, but maybe it's framed as doting because Elfelt as a character is obsessed really with like the.
Jay, continue.
It's kind of both. Like it's
Yeah.
It's
That's what I'm saying.
Version of a pure emotion, I guess. That's Ariel's like. She's trying to do something pure, but like with all the emotions going, and it gets corrupted with other thoughts. Like.
Yeah, I think it's like, because Elphelt as a character, right, is obsessed with the institution of marriage, and I think Ariels is trying to sort of take that away from her, like, she's depriving her of her original kind of wedding dress inspired outfit, because, like, human love shouldn't be relevant to her. She's trying to turn her back into, like you're saying there, Abby, to her regular Valentine form, her quote-unquote true form, right, what she was designed as. And, you know, when we see, like, the final iteration of Elphelt, she's, like, kind of a mix of both. Like, she's accepting that part of herself, but she's also trying to be like, well, this is what I care about as an individual. So I think it's more like Ariel's seeing her daughter leave the house dressed in a way that she, as her mother, doesn't like, and she's saying, like, oh, no, that doesn't look good on you, let me change you.
Yeah, you're not going outside with that outfit.
It kind of lets me think in a sentimental way that she wanted to give Elphelt a piece of her when Elphelt transcends to humanity and becomes the only thing left. Like, she can look down and look at her clothes and be like, oh yeah, this was something my mother gave me. Or that's what I think Ariel's wanted.
It's a fucked up version of that out. Like, Arias tries to do something human, but she's still like very, well, not well in the mind, so she's like, it gets very fucked up her thoughts, so like, yeah, it's interesting.
No, that very natural parental compulsion to want to live vicariously through your child and be like, oh, you represent me and whatever I stand for, so you need to appear the way that I would want you to appear. And there's a part of that that's like a certain kindness, quote unquote, because it's like, oh, I don't want the world to judge you harshly, but then there's also an unkindness, right? Because you're forcing them to subsume their individuality and getting rid of that self that they've constructed for themselves, what they should be doing, especially at, like, you know, Elphelt's age, question mark? But if she's supposed to be a stand-in for a teenage daughter.
Yeah, I guess Elphelt could be seen as a teenager who becomes an adult. I guess that's the best way to see her, but like, the Valentine aging, I'm not going to touch Elphelt's aging because that's actually one of the, I guess, plot holes in Guilty Gear with her whole, but like, the info comes from Xrd sign where her memories were not fully true, so I'm not like, I cannot trust your info, but your info is everything we get. But I will add that Ramletal is the older sister, we know that. But like, there's a bit of timeline fuckery going on there. Actually, one thing I would like to add, interestingly, you remember the at EVO when they showed the concept art for Xrd, right? Interesting thing, all the concept art was for a Ramletal, and she looked very much like a sign Elphelt in one of them. Elphelt, I think that makes it interesting that Ramletal was created before and was supposed to be like a second Valentine, but then later, when Xrd, like, the story started to develop more, they made Elphelt and Ramletal like two different characters, like, because like, it's a character that looks exactly like Sign Elphelt, just in a different outfit, but that's Ramletal according to them. It's interesting to me, just wanted to throw that out there.
I think we're probably gonna wrap up soon, so I just wanted to ask everyone if they had any closing thoughts or anything they forgot to mention. I guess I'll like go down in a row. Roxy, was there anything that you have any notes or anything that you haven't said?
Gosh, let me just I did write some beforehand. I feel like everything that like I did write down that I wanted to talk about has been brought up. Besides, she brings up her resilience a fair bit, which, she gasses herself up. She says to Elphelt, I might not look it, I'm quite resilient, you know, in regards to like, you know, when she kind of goes, oh, how I've suffered, oh, it's been so long that I've been working on it, don't I deserve
taking her title as the universal will, kind of literally, like, oh, I am so willful, I am resilient, nothing can break my unbreakable motivation as the universal will. Just try and stop me, look at me, I am great and powerful.
Actually, I could add to that, we don't actually know exactly what her body is like. I assume she was human, but we remember she survived in Xrd, the Dragonist Justice Blast, you remember that, right? Yeah. She survived that. So, like, it's very likely that, like, Ariel's, the body, is actually a Valentine.
Nah, she's just a queen.
Yeah,
She can take it.
Maybe.
True, but actually, in lore perspective, it would make sense if, interestingly, she
kinda cool, yeah,
herself
she's
is the
Batman and
prototype for Valentines. Think about it. Ariels is the prototype for Valentines, like the body. That's just a theory I just came up with, but still.
Beatrice, do you have any last notes, thoughts, comments, anything?
Yes, I've been waiting for a chance to bring this up, but I'll post a timestamp in the video of Ariel's scenes. But right before she reveals everything to Bedman, as he's dying, she actually meows at him. I've never really seen this brought up, but it's a very important detail.
I remember this! I don't want to replicate it for my own embarrassment, but...
She says, in the Japanese version, she says, "Neko kabutemashita, meow," and that's an idiom that means I've been wearing a cat on my head, which means she's been putting up like a front, basically a friendly front.
What's
And
the name
it could
of
also
the,
Accent and cats, like Asuka had the cat ear. What was this Daisuke really into cat ear? Some
Is
boys
there,
at that
maybe
level?
it's
is there a...
maybe Daisuke put that line in there as a nod to him intending for him to be named after one of Freddie Mercury's cats.
I forgot!
You never know.
And she's literally in charge of two
That
of Freddie
makes sense.
Mercury's cats because she's in charge of Romeo and Delilah, so that'd be a really cute
Yeah.
nod, actually.
Is Arias now also Freddie Mercury? God damn it. We nearly got through a Guilty Gear video without talking about the Queen and Freddie Mercury.
Well, she is a queen.
Soul is Freddie Mercury. Ariel
God damn
is
it,
Freddie
said it,
Mercury. Are there any other Freddie Mercurys here we should know about?
Well, if it counts, I think Jacko is the fat-bottomed girl they wrote the song about.
Yeah, Fanny is also in one of the... actually, my friend added this to the wiki, but I don't remember exactly what the song was, but it has a character named Fanny in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now to move on, Abby, are there any lasting thoughts or notes or anything you've got that you haven't mentioned?
I got nothing. I talked too much already, and also I got to talk about Fanny, so I'm happy.
Oh, I forgot. Jake, do you have anything?
I talk about Justice and I talk about Arias, my 3 favorite characters, so I'm good.
Only thing I have to say is, God is dead, but punk's not. Keep it rocking in the free world.
Mankind is dead, blood is fuel, hell is full.
Fuck yeah, I love Ultrakill. I realized there was one last thing that I hadn't mentioned, and it's that the song that she's based off of by System of a Down, Ariels. It's a really good song, and also it's a song that doesn't have a distinct meaning. It's kind of very open-ended.
I mean, System of a Down in general, they have 2 meanings. Completely random shit or I hate the government. That's like 2.
Well, I like to believe that everything has a meaning. It's just that it's hard to decipher, and I think
with
that
System
itself
of a Down,
could...
I doubt it. Not everything can... I don't think a song like Sugar can have any meaning that's like a sane person
Well,
can
someone
come
had
up
to
with.
sit down and write it, didn't they? Therefore, it has meaning.
An insane person, that's what I say.
Wow.
But Ariels is a song I listen to frequently, and it's something that when I've listened to it, I've always imagined making, like, a lyric video with, an animatic for it, where it's like Ariels and she's on top of the world, because something that they bring up too is that life is a waterfall, and the place that she is where she's holding justice is high above the clouds, like they mentioned in the song, and has waterfalls and stuff, so it's almost like, I think Daisuke was listening to this song, imagining how this final climactic thing with Ariels would go down, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
As we
do
know,
he's
Guilty Gear
kind of
is just
System of the
some
Down
dude this
because
is.
Strife has 2 System of the Down references. Gold Blue is Overdrive, and it's the lowest floor of the tower. Is System of a Down. So we know he's a fan.
Everything's a reference, but I really like how kind of
And Gold
direct it
Lewis's
is with her.
title. The Secretary of Absolute Defense.
Yeah.
I always really like that.
Can't wait to hear what
SOD.
everyone has to say about him.
Honestly,
That's
I
one
know a lot
person
of...
who's going to talk about.
I actually have a friend that's a trans man that is super, super into Gold Lewis as an expression of
Makes sense.
of being a trans man, and I can't wait to talk
Yeah.
about that because I think Gold Lewis is a very, very queer character that people just have not talked about as much.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
he had the unfortunate downside of having his queerness exposed the same time as Bridget, and everyone was talking about Bridget.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
Yeah.
good for that
Gold
too,
Lewis-
but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, Goldtube is a cowboy, and that queerness and cowboys go hand in hand. It's like...
Ain't that right, Johnny?
I'm just saying,
I mean-
Johnny looking over at Testament saying, "Hey, just lean."
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, Faust, what
Johnny
them fingers
is...
do?
I mean, I personally would say Johnny is asexual, but not aromantic. That's like, he just flirts. He just like romance. That's Johnny.
It's cute. Yeah, okay.
Shout out to Daisuke for making the arcade partner Giovanna instead of Testament. I still remember the meltdown that happened on Twitter when that happened. That was so fucking funny.
I mean, Testament is still angry about not getting the kids.
So Jover.
This is a very
Goes over for
sort
Johnny
topic
Test.
for our
It's John over.
John over.
Nah, I hold in my heart that it will when they bring Testament's voice actors back in, and their voice actor in English too, that something will happen.
actress.
But yeah, I just wanted to thank you all. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about the lore. I think the lore of Guilty Gear is what I'm most interested in, and I really like the story of Ariels, and I really like that she is a female villain, because we don't get notable woman villains as often, and
Yeah,
I
we
like
don't, not in Guilty Gear. Yeah, no.
No, in
there's
Guilty
a
Gear
big
we have
female
Justice and we have
villain.
Eno, but...
Only has female like villains. Like Happy Chaos is kind of a secondary villain
Yeah.
to, like. Like only game with a male villain is Guilty Gear Judgment, but that's Guilty Gear Judgment, so we don't touch it. I cannot find the source for it, but in an interview that we don't have access to, Daisuke said that Leopardon is like a she because like he wanted all the female, like not all the females, all the villains to be women.
I never knew that.
But we don't have the source for that, so don't quote me on that.
But yeah, I really like it.
But yeah, where is the source?
But yeah, I really like Ariels, and I'm really glad we were able to sit down today and talk about her. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you all have a really good day. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.